The voice tearing you apart in your head every night was never truly yours. That perfect outer shell is not strength. It is a survival scar from a childhood that hurt you more deeply than anyone ever saw. And the truth waiting at the end of this video has the power to change the rest of your life. Have you ever stood in front of a mirror and looked at someone the world calls gifted, composed, thoughtful, impressive, while deep inside, that same person feels exhausted, shaky, and barely held together? You understand other people's pain almost instantly. You know how to sit with someone's tears. You know how to make space for everyone else's emotions. But when night falls, you turn on yourself with a level of judgment so harsh it feels unbearable. You live with this quiet fear in your chest, the fear that everything you've built is somehow fake, that your success is a trick, that one day the image you worked so hard to protect will fall apart in public, and everyone will finally see that you were never enough. If something tightened in your chest when you heard that, then stay with me, because there is a truth you may have been avoiding for years. The thing wearing you down is not proof that you are weak. It is not proof that you are unstable. It is not some flaw in your personality. It is the aftermath of a war no one saw, a war you were forced to survive long before you were old enough to understand what was happening. Welcomes you. Welcome to a kind of psychological surgery without anesthesia, where we strip away the hardened layers around old pain and get honest about what has really been living underneath all these years. If you truly want to save yourself, stay with me until the end, because what you hear at the end of this video may change how you understand your entire life. And before we go deeper, take 1 second to subscribe, so this channel can keep bringing you the most honest, piercing, and healing conversations possible. Now let's be honest with each other. This world loves people who look strong, and it often dismisses people who seem sensitive. It points at you and says, you overthink. It says you are too much. It says you make everything bigger than it is. But most people will never understand what it does to a human being to grow up in a place that should have felt safe, and instead felt emotionally dangerous. When you are raised in a toxic home, when you are shaped by narcissistic parents or emotionally damaged adults, you are not allowed to be a normal child. You do not get to be careless. You do not get to be soft. You do not get to be innocent for very long. When the atmosphere in your home is filled with manipulation, unpredictability, emotional explosions, silent punishment, or cold withdrawal, a child's brain does what it must do to survive. It adapts. You were not born too sensitive. You were not naturally obsessed with getting everything right. You were not just one of those kids who worried too much. You were trained by pain. Those traits were not random personality quirks. They were survival tools. They were the best strategies your mind and body could build in an environment that never truly felt safe. And I'm not here to tell you to spend your life hating the past. I am not here to push you deeper into a victim identity. We are here to clear your name. We are here to finally tell the truth about the child inside you. It is time to stop despising yourself. Time to stop attacking yourself for the contradictions inside you. Time to stop calling yourself broken for patterns that were created to keep you alive. Because when you look at your story through the lens of truth, the very things that have made your life so painful may actually be the remains of a survivor. Not a weak person, not a defective person. A survivor. To understand why that survivor feels so drained today, we have to go back and look at the tools you were forced to build in the dark. Go back to your childhood home, a place that should have been filled with warmth, safety, and laughter. But instead, you learned to live like someone studying danger. You learned how to scan the emotional weather in a room before you even spoke. You learned how to read footsteps, silence, facial tension, breathing changes, tone shifts, and invisible signals other people miss. You became hyper-aware because your peace depended on it. That deep empathy people admire in you today may have started as a threat detection system. You had to figure out what kind of night it was going to be before anyone said a word. You had to sense whether someone was irritated, disappointed, cold, unstable, withdrawn, or about to explode. You had to adjust quickly, shrink quickly, perform quickly, disappear quickly. You became good at reading people because being wrong cost too much. And that people-pleasing side of you, that did not come from pure kindness alone. That was survival too. At some point, you realized your normal needs could create tension. That asking for attention, comfort, reassurance, rest, or understanding might be met with annoyance, guilt, rejection, mockery, or emotional punishment. So, you started cutting away pieces of yourself. You swallowed your tears. You hid your exhaustion. You made yourself easy to manage. You became the child who did not cause problems. You became mature, understanding, selfless, the good one, the easy one, the one who needed less, the one who handled more. And somewhere along the way, you learned a dangerous lesson. Love feels safer when you earn it. You noticed that when you were useful, people were calmer. When you achieved, people approved. When you solved problems, tension eased. When you managed other people's emotions, the environment felt a little less dangerous. So you started believing that your value lived in performance, not in your existence, not in your heart, not in your humanity, in what you could carry, in what you could fix, in how little space you took up. If you were also taught to survive by becoming easy, by becoming the one who never caused trouble, comment one. Because that pattern runs deeper than most people realize. Your body was learning all of this too. It got used to living with constant stress chemicals moving through it. It got used to tension as a baseline. It got used to bracing. It got used to watching. It got used to never fully relaxing. And when wounded adults used you as emotional relief, you were pushed into a role no child should ever have to play. You became the listener, the comforter, the peacekeeper, the emotional manager, the little therapist in the house. You were carrying pain that was never yours to carry. So yes, your sensitivity became sharp. Yes, your perception became intense. Yes, your awareness became extraordinary. But those gifts came at a cost. Because when your nervous system stays stuck in survival mode for years, it does not just shape your mind, it drains your body. It burns through your energy. It trains you to stay alert even when there is no immediate danger. From the outside, you may look calm, capable, competent, reliable, the one who can handle everything. But inside, your chest is tight, your stomach stays tense, your mind keeps running, your body never really lands. You have spent so much of your life trying to keep the outside world from falling apart that you may not have noticed how long your inner world has been asking for help. That is the tragedy of childhood survival. The same skills that protected you then can slowly drain you now. But the deepest tragedy is not just that you had to use those survival skills to deal with the outside world. The deepest tragedy is that you carried the enemy with you. You grew up. You left the house. You built a life. You achieved things. You became impressive. You became disciplined. You became the kind of person other people admire. And still, the past kept following you. So you ran harder. You chased success to cover the hole inside you. You built an image that looked polished, high-functioning, impossible to criticize. You tried to become so excellent that no one could hurt you again. So flawless that no one could reject you. So capable that no one could shame you. But it did not work, because the voice that hurts you most is not outside anymore. It moved in. Pay attention to what happens in your mind the moment you make a small mistake. The moment you forget something. The moment you disappoint someone. The moment you fall short of your own impossible standards. Do you hear comfort? Do you hear patience? Do you hear understanding? Or do you hear something colder? You're useless. You always mess things up. You're a fraud. No one would love the real you. You're only valuable when you perform. That voice is not your deepest self. That voice was trained into you. It is the internal echo of criticism, contempt, emotional neglect, impossible expectations, or conditional love. It is what happens when external judgment is repeated so many times that it becomes part of your inner operating system. And perfectionism? That is not just ambition. It is fear wearing expensive clothes. It is fear trying to protect you. Fear saying, if I do everything right, maybe I'll be safe. Maybe I won't be humiliated. Maybe I won't be abandoned. Maybe no one will find a reason to reject me. Your obsession with control did not come from nowhere. In the past, chaos meant danger. Unpredictability meant pain. Losing control meant getting hurt. So now you try to control every detail, every outcome, every impression, every response, every flaw. And that is also where imposter syndrome digs its claws in. You can have the degrees, the praise, the promotions, the respect, the results. And still, somewhere deep inside, the wounded child says, this doesn't really count. I'm only getting away with it for now. One day people will see I'm not enough. That is why rest feels hard. Because rest can feel unsafe. Rest can feel undeserved. Rest can feel like laziness, exposure, risk. So you push harder, do more, fix more, overthink more, achieve more, and then criticize yourself for still not feeling whole. This is where people get trapped. They keep using achievement to solve a wound. Achievement cannot heal. They keep trying to outrun the past while carrying it in their own mind. They keep stabbing themselves with the very weapon survival once put in their hands. And if any part of this feels painfully familiar, comment 1. Not for me, for yourself, as proof that you are finally seeing the pattern clearly. Because the moment you name it, it starts losing power. Sooner or later, even the strongest survival system hits a limit. There comes a point when the body cannot keep pretending, a point when the mind cannot keep performing, a point when the mask starts cracking, whether you want it to or not. Maybe that moment comes right after you reach a major goal. A promotion, a milestone, financial success, recognition, a version of life you thought would finally make everything feel okay. And then, instead of relief, you feel emptiness. Not small emptiness, not temporary disappointment, a deep, chilling emptiness. You look at what you achieved. You look at what people admire about you. And still, something inside you says, why do I still feel this hollow? That moment confuses a lot of people, because they thought success would fix the ache. They thought if they became enough on the outside, they would finally feel enough on the inside. But trauma does not disappear just because your resume looks better. The exhaustion you feel at that point is not normal tiredness. It is deeper than that. It feels like your whole system is overworked. Like your mind is tired of managing everything. Like your body is tired of bracing. Like your emotions are tired of being suppressed, filtered, organized, and controlled. This is where emotional numbness often begins. You stop feeling joy the way you used to. Things that once excited you no longer reach you. Even pain can start to feel distant, like it is happening behind glass. You are still alive, but you do not feel fully present in your own life. The sensitivity that once protected you now overwhelms you. You absorb too much. You carry too much. You process too much. And you do not know where to put any of it. So you start pulling back. You cancel plans. You stop answering messages. You isolate. Not because you hate people. Not because you do not care. But because pretending to be okay costs more energy than you have left. You begin to freeze. And this part is important, that collapse is not always failure. Sometimes it is protest. Sometimes your body is saying, I cannot keep living like this. Sometimes your nervous system is shutting down an old strategy that has drained you for far too long. Sometimes the breakdown is the first honest thing that has happened in years. If you are tired of living behind that mask, if you are done repeating this cycle, comment 1, because what is breaking right now may not be your life. It may be the false structure you built to survive it. That perfect image has to crack before the real you can breathe. The emptiness, the burnout, the numbness, the withdrawal, the loss of joy, the exhaustion that no sleep seems to fix, these may not be signs that you are failing. They may be signs that your old way of surviving is no longer sustainable. And painful as that is, it can also be the beginning of the truth. When you reach that breaking point, you usually have two choices. Keep running until you disappear into the role you built, or turn around and face what has been driving you this whole time. This is the answer I promised at the beginning. The truth that can change the rest of your life is this. You are not broken. You are not a defective version of a healthy person. You are not weak because you feel deeply. You are not failing because you are exhausted. You are not crazy because your mind won't leave you alone at night. What you carry is not a moral failure. It is inherited pain, learned fear, old survival intelligence. These patterns were built in response to what happened to you. They are not proof of who you are. And healing begins the moment you stop treating your symptoms like evidence that you are flawed. The first step is radical acceptance. Not passive acceptance. Not, this is just my personality. Not resignation. Real acceptance. The kind that says, yes, this hurt me. Yes, I lost things I should have had. Yes, I adapted in painful ways. Yes, what happened mattered. Allow yourself to grieve the childhood you did not get to have. Grieve the softness you lost. Grieve the safety you never had. Grieve the child who had to grow up too fast. And stop rushing to excuse the people who wounded you. Their pain may be real. Their history may be complicated. Their wounds may explain some of what they did. But explanation is not erasure. What they did to your inner world still mattered. What it cost you still matters. You are allowed to feel anger. You are allowed to feel sadness. You are allowed to tell the truth. Then comes the next step, confronting the inner critic. Not with fear, not with surrender, with clarity. When that cruel voice rises again, answer it. This pressure is not mine to carry anymore. These impossible expectations do not own me anymore. I am not that helpless child now. You do not get to run my life anymore. That is how you begin taking your power back. And here is the part many people miss. You do not have to hate your survival patterns to heal them. You can thank them. Thank your sensitivity for helping you detect danger. Thank your perfectionism for trying to protect you. Thank your hyper-awareness for getting you through years that felt impossible. Thank your people-pleasing for doing its best to keep you connected and safe. Those strategies helped you survive. But survival is not the same thing as freedom. So after you thank them, you set them down, because the war is over. Or at least, it can be. You are here now. You are older now. You have choices now. You are not trapped in that old environment anymore, even if your body still acts like you are. This is where reparenting begins. Reparenting means becoming the steady, safe, protective presence you once needed. It means asking yourself, what am I feeling right now? What do I need right now? What would kindness look like here? What would safety look like here? It means learning how to speak to yourself with honesty instead of cruelty, with structure instead of shame, with firmness when needed, but never with contempt. It means giving yourself permission to be ordinary sometimes, permission to rest, permission to make mistakes, permission to disappoint people, permission to say no without writing a full defense. It means allowing your house to be imperfect, sending the email without checking it 10 times, leaving room for human error, taking one tiny step at a time out of the prison of control. It means building emotional boundaries too. Stop scanning everyone all the time. Stop trying to manage every reaction around you. Stop assuming it is your job to keep other people comfortable at your own expense. Some people will not like the healthier version of you. That is not always a sign you are doing something wrong. Sometimes it is proof that you are no longer an easy target. And that is a good thing. Yes, this path is long. Yes, it is painful. Yes. Healing will ask you to feel things you spent years avoiding. But there is another life on the other side of this. A life where peace does not have to be earned. A life where love is not tied to performance. A life where rest does not feel like guilt. A life where your value is not measured by how much you carry for everyone else. You survived as a fighter. Now you deserve to live as a whole human being. And that is where everything comes together. The hypersensitivity, the perfectionism, the need to please, the exhaustion, the inner pressure, the constant self-judgment. None of it came from nowhere. These were survival responses. They were built in a painful environment to help you endure what you should never have had to endure alone. But what protected you in the past may be tearing you down in the present. That is the hard truth. Real healing does not come from running faster. It does not come from collecting more praise, more status, more proof, more achievement to cover what hurts. It comes from telling the truth, from letting the mask crack, from facing the pain you once had to bury, from refusing to let the past keep speaking through your own voice. You do not need to be more useful to deserve love. You do not need to be perfect to deserve peace. You do not need to earn the right to exist gently. Your existence already has value. So start small. The next time your mind says, "I'm terrible, I'm going to fail, I'm not enough," pause and tell yourself, that is the past talking. That is not the truth of who I am right now. Then replace it with something steadier, something kinder, something real. Try speaking to yourself the way you would speak to a hurting friend, not with fake positivity. With grounded compassion, practice not being perfect. Practice leaving small things unfinished. Practice being disliked without collapsing. Practice saying no without over-explaining. Practice resting before you think you deserve it. And most of all, become a safe place for yourself. Ask yourself every day, what am I feeling? What do I need? What would care look like right now? Give yourself the small joys you were once denied. Give yourself permission to slow down. Give yourself the kind of love that does not ask you to perform first. And before you go, I want to ask you something real. What has exhausted you more in this life? The pressure to be perfect, or the pressure to keep everyone else happy? Take a moment and share your answer in the comments. Your story may help someone else finally understand their own. And if this video spoke to something deep inside you, subscribe to the channel for more conversations that are honest, sharp, healing, and real.